Welcome to Driving the Lane with Randy Kraayenbrink and Chuck Rowe, a podcast presented by News Talk 1540 KXCL. Now, Driving the Lane.
Welcome to Driving the Lane. Randy Kraayenbrink, Chuck Rowe, the show where we talk about mostly one thing and one thing only, and that is
Panther Basketball.
Now, it's important that we remind you that although we are the official UNI basketball show for News Talk 1540 KXCL, our comments may not reflect the feelings of our friends at UNI. However, Randy is a former player, and I thought the last game had a great ending. So this show is going to be as official as it's going to get. Did you watch that show? We're on a game-winning streak. We're on a roll here.
We are.
So, so as always, we have a great show for everybody. Joining us today, Michael Duax, the Midwest Studies Group Nonprofit of the Week, and of course, the Financial Architect's Quote of the Week. Let's get started. Randy, super happy to have with us today. Drum roll, please. So, Michael, I apologize. You'll start getting to know his drum rolls get worse and worse. He doesn't know where his microphone is.
I don't have a clue where my microphone
So
is.
just pound that table hard or something, Randy. But anyways, Michael Duax, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, Michael, the first most important question to get out of the way. You are famous for having that long hair and man bun. Do you regret cutting it or not cutting it, before UNI?
No, it was definitely time to get a haircut. It was fun in the moment. Looking back, I wish I would have cut it a little sooner before the basketball season, because now I'm looking back at all my pictures from my senior year and I'm like, man, I had the long hair. Those aren't easy to look at, but I knew all along I'd have to cut it before I got to UNI, just because talking to some of the coaches, I knew they'd give me a hard time, like PJ Hogan, especially if I came here with the long hair. I knew he'd give me a hard time. So, I mean, it was a fun experiment. It's fun to try different things, but it got a little longer than it needed to be.
I think PJ let his hair get out of league for a while there in COVID, right after COVID. He went crazy for a bit too, Michael.
He made fun of my hair back in high school, and he grew his out long. So he had no room to talk.
Totally.
Yeah, it was fun though.
So, did your mom have any, input on your hair when it came time to doing like those official photos for UNI?
Well, yes. Neither of my parents were ever a fan of it when I would throughout the whole process, but it kind of got to the point where it's like they knew I wasn't going to cut it, because I was kind of doing it with some buddies, just had a few other guys. We were all just it started over the quarantine. I mean, we had no reason to cut our hair. Like, who cares? So
no joke. This is a serious thing I'm going to say right now, Michael, is that when I was looking up some information for you and Googled it, this newspaper article came up with you, and I said, oh, crud, I found the wrong photo. This is the women's basketball. This must be like a women's article. And then I was like, no, wait.
That actually happened quite a bit, so I believe you. Yeah, there's quite a few mistakes like that.
That's awesome.
I gotta be willing to take that if I'm willing to grow my hair, so that's okay.
So 5 brothers from Dubuque, though. All of you played college basketball. Which ones did you get the chance to play with during high school?
I played a year with Max, so I would have been a sophomore. So my freshman year, Lucas was a senior, so I could have had a year, but I didn't play varsity my freshman year. So he was a senior when I was a freshman. I played with Max when I was a sophomore, and he was a senior. So I got 1 year with Max before he graduated.
And they all jump out of the gym like you, or do you have different playing styles?
We all have kind of different, similar, but not quite the same skill sets. I'd say Connor, the second oldest brother, and myself were probably the 2 most athletically gifted of the 5, but yeah, we're all kind of like similar to each other, but at the same time it's like there's Lucas and Max and Robert are a little better shooters than Connor and myself, so it's like we all have our strengths and weaknesses, but from a pure athleticism standpoint, I think I have them by a little bit. I think that's
so this is kind of a strange interview, Michael. We were setting this up, obviously. So I'm the youngest of 5 boys as well.
Oh, wow.
And I came to UNI obviously back in 1982, just a little while before. And I've run into your father. I know your dad.
Really?
So say hi to him for me when we're
I
done
will.
with you. And
That's interesting.
so I had an interesting situation. So I was the youngest of 5 boys. We were 7 years apart, and so my brothers all ended up playing some form of college sport, whether it was football or basketball. So they all went on and played as well in Division NAIA, Division II, that kind of.
Yeah.
And so I tell this story. My older brother was the one who just coddled me. He babied me, took care of me. My next brother would never let me win at anything. He would just literally beat the snot out of me. And then my next brother didn't really care for me a whole lot, but he worked hard, so he had a lot of work ethic, which was good for me. And then my next brother just physically beat me up.
Oh,
We were like 13 months apart. He physically beat me up.
yeah.
So I had all of that, right? And I had the coaching, the coddling, I had, the rub dirt in my face, make me bleed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So tell me about your childhood. And
there's definitely a brother that, yeah, like you said, there's always one that's you're a little more competitive with, you're a little more physical with. Closest in age would have been Max. He was the one that I was probably most competitive with, just because we played the most together. Just games of one-on-one, just because it was tough for me playing my oldest and second oldest. So at times they wouldn't even let me play them. But Max was the most competitive. But Lucas, he was the brother. He's the middle child. It's like when we played with Lucas, it would get physical with Lucas. He was the one, like you said, you have the one that would beat you up. Like Lucas was the physical one. Connor and Robert weren't as bad. I'd say Connor, the second oldest, he was the one who had a little more fun, not as competitive playing one-on-one. That was just more kind of fun one-on-one. And then, yeah, similar with Robert. But Lucas and Max, yeah, we're the 3 youngest, and it was a little more even, so it got a little more competitive with those two.
That's cool.
Well, I know you get asked a billion times, like who would win one-on-one and all those type of questions. So we'll skip that one for now. But when you consider that every once in a while, UNI will put Upper Iowa on the schedule, have your parents ever talked about how they would handle that?
The year before I came to UNI, Upper Iowa did play UNI when my brother Lucas was at Upper Iowa. So for some reason, it's just once I got here, the scheduling never worked out. But it would have been my parents would have loved that, because they've had similar situations. I had 2 brothers who were both in the WIAC conference, where Robert was at Platteville and Connor was at Oshkosh. So they've played each other, and they have so much fun with it. They made little special T-shirts that had like both teams cheering, like any parents would. They didn't cheer for a team, like they just hoped both, like it was a good game. But like you guys kind of could imagine, like that's a parent's dream to have 2 sons playing against each other. And yeah, it was just fun for them to watch, and fun for my brothers to play against each other. I have yet to play against a brother. Like I played with Max for a year, but it'd be fun to play Upper Iowa. I hope maybe next year, because I think Max might have 1 more year. So hopefully it's not too late, but we'll see.
Now you're the baby in the family. So because of that, are you also the favorite?
That's a tough question. No parent will ever admit that, but I'm definitely, I'd say, the most spoiled. I have it easier than my brothers had it in high school. So yeah, they've gotten a little looser over the years. I mean, by your 5th kid, like it's pretty exhausting. So they kind of it's got a little less strict. But favorite, I don't know about that. I like to think so, but they'll never admit it.
I agree with that. My story at the end of it is, I think my parents just got tired of parenting, so I got to eat Fruit Loops and do other stuff.
Oh, so yeah, like
I think they just got tired of it. So
I know my brother's hearing about some of like the guidelines and rules they had in high school. I'm like, wow, you guys had it tough. No, it's pretty easy for me now.
Since your dad played at UNI during the 80s and obviously came across Randy, they were friends during that time as well. As a youngster, did you pay closer attention to UNI athletics compared to most kids?
I did in a way, but not necessarily because of my parents. There was always some sort of connection, like guys that came through Dubuque or I knew through travel basketball that played at UNI. So, and I did have family up here other than my parents. Like I have two sets of aunts and uncles, so it's just like who are huge Panther fans. So just kind of always having that Panther background, it's just easy to watch a game and it's fun to watch a game. So I did pay quite a bit of attention growing up and coming to camps too, like coming to as a basketball player, like the youth skill camps and stuff and the team camps. Like I'd been going to the UNI campus long before I ever even thought I'd come here. So
maybe tell us about the recruiting trail, how that happened, and then maybe kind of how you settled on becoming a Panther.
yeah, they were there. UNI was here, like talking to me from the start. They were the first school to reach out in seriousness and show that they really wanted me, and that means a lot. Like every time I've ever considered even thinking about like another school, it's like how I don't like UNI's always been there, and then they seemed like the obvious choice from the beginning. So I did have a couple other offers. South Dakota State was a good school, and then Western Illinois. But whenever I thought like about pros and cons, it just didn't seem like UNI had any cons. The family aspect, like we've talked about, it's pretty close to home, and then just the program itself is a really successful program, and the relationships were a huge part of it, not just with the coaches but with the players. Like I kind of talked about, there's been guys from close to where I live, like I already knew some of the players on the team before I got here, so it's just all the relationships together made it a super easy decision, actually.
Were your family ever friends with PJ Hogan's family in the past? And how often was he part of that recruiting process for you?
Not really my family, but my high school head coach played and went to high school with PJ. So that made it super easy to communicate. Like even before the NCAA rules, like there's always the rules like on how much you can talk to each other and how you can and when you can. So it made it super easy to communicate through my high school coach, just having that connection. I just grew super close with PJ from the start, texting each other, calling each other all the time. Like, yeah, he's just always been there.
So let's say you can go back to your senior year and you had to choose between, you had the opportunity to 100%, no question asked, win a championship, or be able to play with all your brothers at one time in high school for a chance to win a championship. Which would you pick?
I'd say playing with my brothers, because I think the way we played it together and the way we know each other's games, like that would give us a pretty good chance at a championship itself. Just because, and like it's like I talked about, we know each other's games and we know how to play against each other. So if us five are on the court at the same time, I think we'd have a pretty good chance at making a run for a championship.
Now, obviously, D1 was the direction that you were going in, but at any point was Upper Iowa a consideration?
Yes and no. Like it was kind of a fun idea to think about, because I had Connor. He transferred to Upper Iowa, so at time three of them were on the team: Connor, Lucas, and Max, and I would have been the fourth. So it just would have been super fun, four of us on the same team. But it was like, in all seriousness, it was never. I kind of had UNI dreams like at the time, so in reality, I probably wouldn't say it was a serious option, but it was definitely something like fun to think about.
Well, we'll definitely have to shoot Brooks a note after this and tell him to get you guys on the schedule for next year.
I know.
So
That'd be awesome. Yeah, you guys do that.
so but your senior year you averaged over 21 points a game. You had a great career in high school in general, but how have you had to change your offensive game as you entered D1?
The biggest thing is just in high school, uh being stronger and taller than most and more athletic than pretty much every other guy you're playing against. You don't really have to use too many skills and like think about how to score. You can kind of just rely on your athleticism to like power your way through and get and score offensively. But once you get to college and guys are just as strong as you or just as athletic as you, if not more, then you got to find ways to score and find ways to use your athleticism better rather than just like kind of running through guys like in high school. So it's been a change, just like mentally having the game slow down in your mind and just kind of see the game instead of just playing so fast like I did in high school.
And you kind of got thrown into the wolves. I think maybe a little unexpectedly, but with injuries and some other things that happened, we got to see your game flourish a little bit quicker probably than you thought it might happen as well. And how's that been for you, that you're just playing ball?
Yeah, I mean, injuries are a terrible situation and you never wish they happen, but like you talked about, it kind of opened up a way for me to jump right into things. And I think it's helped me get a lot more comfortable on the court. From when I first started playing till first starting till now, it's like I feel more comfortable out there and I'm starting to see the game better and it slows down in my mind a little bit. So yeah, it's helped out my game a lot, kind of jumping into things, but like obviously we'd like to have guys back who are injured right now, so it's never something you wish for.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's not always translating into wins, but how special is it to play with so many freshmen and sophomores? Does it have like this Fab Five feel to it at all? Or
it does a little bit, just knowing for the future that you're going to be with these guys for a while and you're just going to keep getting closer and playing even better together. It's a good feeling. And just like I said, knowing you'll have many more years ahead with this group. So it's just fun. It's a good feeling.
Well, when you get on a nice fast break, we expect to see a dunk now. Which player have you started to develop a good like on-court relationship with that seems to know what you're going to do before you even do it?
Bowen's very good at seeing the floor, and the way my offensive game is it revolves kind of around cutting to the basket and just kind of finding the openings. So when Bowen drives, obviously he gets so much attention that my guy will turn it and maybe either look at him or actually go run and double him. So it's like my job is to find the opening, and then Bowen seems to always see me when I cut. So I feel like I have a good kind of connection with him on and off the court, but especially on the court. He always seems to see me when I'm cutting, and then just an easy 2 points.
Well, we see those two-handed dunks a lot. When are we going to see the windmill?
The windmill, yes, that's the goal. I'd have to have a fast break and up by quite a bit to try that one out. I did it in high school a couple of times, but I mean, high school is a little less serious than it is now because if you try the windmill and if I don't make it, then that could be a problem.
You don't want to be sitting by Coach Jake after.
No, that could happen if I don't make it, especially if it's a close game. So it's like it's got to be just right for me to try it.
And Michael does another left-handed layup. Very nice.
Yep.
Well, Titan is a pretty good jumper, and if you watched the show before, he mentioned that you're actually probably the best dunker on the team. And then he kind of said Cole Henry, also an excellent dunker. So if the three of you were in the dunk contest, though, who would win and why?
I think I'd have to go with myself because Cole and Titan are both great dunkers. Cole's a super powerful dunker. Titan, yeah, same with Titan. He can get up there and dunk it with some force, but if we're doing a dunk contest, like you got to have some flash to it, and I feel like I can do a little more, like whether it's a windmill or between the legs, a little more fancy and fun dunks than they can. So I'd go with myself.
I take it back. I no longer want to see the windmill during a game. I want to see the between the legs because partly to see the dunk, but partly to see Coach Jake.
In high school. And I got pulled out right after because I didn't make it. The ball got caught on the front of the rim and I landed back on my back. So I don't know if I'll ever be trying to do that again. I can do it sometimes during warm-ups, but in a game, I don't know if I'll try that again.
So what are the chances of getting the three of you to record yourselves in a slam dunk contest that you could post later?
I'd be all for it. So I'll talk to them. If you guys want to talk to them, yeah, we'll make it
Okay,
happen.
we'll have to
I
make
think
it happen. Randy here, obviously a great high school player, but I don't think he had a higher than a 1-inch vertical. What are some tips that you give to Randy and maybe some other kids out there to improve their vertical?
You have to remember, Michael, when we played, the rim was at 8 foot, so I dunked pretty hard.
Yeah, that's funny. I'd say just, I mean, hitting the weight room. Don't wait till it's too late. Like in high school, I was lifting, and I mean, obviously, everyone wants to bench press and look good on the upper body, but you have to be doing legs. You have to be squatting. So take it serious in the weight room. Take care of your body. Get sleep. Do a lot of stretching. I try to do. I have a little stretching video I do almost every night before I go to bed, or whenever you're sore. Just like, it's really just taking care of your body, what you eat, and how much sleep you get. So combine that with the weight room, and that's where you'll see the most growth.
I think, and we've talked to the other players about this. I think the biggest part between high school and college, obviously there's multiple things, but it's just in practice, you have to compete every day. In high school, I'm sure you worked hard at practice, but you knew that when game time came, you were going to be on the floor playing. And in college, you have to kind of prove yourself kind of day in, day out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. There's this whole competition. As soon as I got to UNI, it's another level we've never experienced before. There's always competition in high school, but at UNI, it's you're fighting for every single minute to get on the court, and these are your teammates who you get along with so well. But at the same time, it's the competition aspect that, like in high school, you kind of talked about. It's you're going to be on the court no matter what, but nothing's guaranteed at college. So you just and it's a good thing, because when you're competing, even if you're just competing for yourself or whatever the reason might be, it's when everyone's competing that hard, everybody's getting to get better together, and like the whole team gets better when the competition is super high.
Well, talking about competing, there was a pretty tough stretch where you guys had a couple of losses there in a row. Last game against Missouri State was awesome, though. You guys came back, you were able to get that win. What was the atmosphere like in the locker room after getting that win? And what was some of the things that maybe coach said in the speech afterwards in the locker room?
It was a great atmosphere because we needed that win. We were on a little rough stretch, so and we started to play a little better against Drake than we had been playing before, and to have that carryover versus Missouri State was super exciting, and road wins are never easy. So yeah, it was super fun, and the coaches we were all super excited, but at the same time, we knew it would come. Like, teams go on rough stretches throughout the year, and we never once doubted ourselves. Like, we knew we were going to start playing our better basketball that we normally play again. So it was a really good feeling, and now it's just about carrying it over to tournament play. So it's good to get that win, but we're focused on, like I said, getting some momentum, carrying it over to when the tournament starts, because that's what really matters.
Well, each season that goes by, Coach Jake gets higher and higher on that most wins list for the Valley. What is it that makes him such a great coach for freshmen?
He's just the relationships that he builds with his players. Like, you feel like you could talk to him about anything. He's an open book. Like, he's super easy to talk to about where you're at with your game. It's like, if you have questions, you could just ask him, and he always does a good job telling you the truth and what you need to work on, what you're good at. So it's just, you're never uncertain of what you need to do, and I think that's what makes him a great coach. You know what he wants, and you just have to do it.
Well, everybody knows that Coach Jake loves basketball very much, loves talking about basketball, loves coaching basketball, loves playing basketball. But there's one thing that he might love just as much or more, and that's fishing. Have you gone fishing with Coach Jake yet? Has he given you any tips yet to catch the big one?
I have not. I'm not a huge fisher. I enjoy it, but not enough to where, like, there's guys on the team. Cole's a huge fisher. Noah Carter last year would have been a huge fisher, but Cole would be the guy to talk to Coach Jake about it. Like, I'll listen to some conversations and like try to join in, because I like fishing for fun, but I can't even name the fish I'm catching. Like, I just do it for fun. Like, it's not serious. So I wouldn't be able to carry that conversation very much.
Well, start studying up because it might improve your playing time. So start talking
That's
about
right.
fishing and catching some more. So
That's a good idea.
anyways, any last words for Panther fans before we let you go, though?
Nope, just we appreciate all your guys' support. It means a lot coming to the home games. The home court advantage is a huge part of winning basketball games. So we appreciate it, and thanks for having me.
Hey, Michael, thanks for joining us. Good luck, and say hi to your family.
This week's Midwest Studies Group Nonprofit of the Week. Please welcome Nick Sorbe from the UNI Basketball Collective. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Chuck.
So, and Randy.
Absolutely.
Hi, Nick.
Yeah. But you can mostly thank me, but then partly Randy. So we've heard so much about NIL. Tell us about what it is and what the UNI Basketball Collective does.
Yeah, so NIL is short for name, image, and likeness, and it's an NCAA. The Congress passed it July 1st of 2021, I believe. And so it essentially means that now student athletes in the NCAA can profit or make money off of their name, image, and likeness. And so what we've created is a not-for-profit that will partner with the UNI men's basketball team to help them engage in the community and serve our mission, which is community betterment and engagement. And for doing so, we'll pay them for their appearances, knowing that their name, image, and likeness in all likelihood will help bring money and generate more revenue for these charities and other nonprofits that we're working with.
Cool. Hey, Nick, so tell us kind of how the students are compensated.
Yeah, they'll be compensated directly from the collective. And so the collective's goal right now is to raise funds to help support them, and they'll be compensated directly from our collective in exchange for their appearances and for the work that they're going to do out in the community representing us.
Okay.
So then how much of a donation goes towards the student athlete?
Yeah, so that's the really cool part about what we're trying to do is that 95%, or that's what we're projecting right now, will go back to the student athlete. So every individual or board member or volunteer is completely that, a volunteer, right? And so there's no compensations being handed out from anybody that's working with us or helping run this. And so we'll have some fixed expenses for a website and some bookkeeping and some other items that we'll need to do to stay in compliance with the IRS. But outside of those expenses, everything else will go directly back to the student athlete.
And you had mentioned, Nick, it's not for profit. So the donations, I'm assuming, are tax deductible.
Yeah, so we're 501c3, and we've applied for that status through the IRS. We have not gotten word back on it, but we're very optimistic that that will be something that we'll be able to offer when donations come in, that those will be tax deductible to the extent of the law. So
then maybe send us to the website, or how can individual people or businesses get involved? Yeah, absolutely. We have a great site, thepanthercollective.com. Go on there and check it out. There's some other questions that if other people have, or if they have anything additionally, they can always reach out to us. We've also got a tiered membership structure, right? So in partnership with our student athletes, some of the benefits of joining the collective is that you'll have some of the interactions with student athletes. So anything from a meet and greet, private outings, signed basketballs, merchandise. So there are some different benefits and some different interactions that we're going to offer to members.
Is there anything else that you would like to share about the collective?
No, appreciate you having us on. We're excited about this mission. We think it's a great way to give back to the program a little bit and help support the student athletes and make a difference in the community.
And Nick, we certainly miss you being part of Nick's Picks, brought to you by Dolly's Taxis, of course. Just so for old time's sake, who do you think the key player for the week is going to be for UNI?
Yeah, so we got 2 games this week at SIU and home against Belmont, right? So 2 pretty important matchups.
2 big games.
Yeah. As far as a key player, let's go with your previous guest, Michael Duax. I think he this past weekend got back on stride a little bit, had a big game both on the offensive end and defensively, and so let's hope that he carries that momentum forward and we can go 2-0 this week.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Nick, for joining us. Have a great week.
Now's the part of the show that everyone's been waiting for, the Financial Architect's Quote of the Week.
Here it is, Chuck. This is an oldie. I think I've used it years ago, but it's right behind me. It's about opportunities. You'll always miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
When you hear about who says that actual quote, I don't even know who actually says it, but you always see it connected to Michael Jordan. I think Wayne Gretzky, you hear that with him sometimes. I don't know who actually said it, but it's a great quote.
Great quote, and it's 100% true all the time.
I didn't shoot a lot when I played.
I don't think it's specifically about basketball, Chuck. But
good.
Sure
okay.
It sure is about basketball.
Okay.
That's
well,
awesome.
Good. Off topic. I guess I do take shots and other things. So I guess it does affect me.
Go.
Thank you very much, Randy. I can live the rest of my week smiling, knowing that I'm making an impact. So, anyways, great quote as always. Good for you. Good for me. Good for everybody. Time to say goodbye from Chuck and Randy. See you next week. Enter the closing music.